Before we get started, Chicago, can you just say hi real quick so we can hear you? Okay, it's a little low.
Hello, Chicago.
Okay. How about Greensboro? You just did that. Okay. Okay, well, welcome to our monthly Philly Net Squared event, which is also coincidentally a Chicago Net Squared event because we're joining with Chicago Net Squared, and Greensboro, North Carolina is joining us as well. Cool. This is an experiment for us. That's the preemptive caveat in case things go wrong. We haven't done a web conference before, a video conference before with one of these events, but we're going to move forward with it and see how it goes. So very quickly, I just want to introduce a couple of things about what we're about. And Philly Net Squared is one of a number of local net squareds around the world. If you look very carefully at these pins, you can see that one is in Philadelphia and one is in Chicago, as well as a bunch of other places. What we do with Philly Net Squared is we generally tend to resonate with the theme of using the social web for social change. And we have a bunch of programs about that. We generally do a Net Tuesday on the first Tuesday of every month. We've been doing this since 2008. And we have a planning meeting on the second Tuesday. We also have a website and a Google group that gets some usage. Just very quickly at a glance, these are some of the past Net Tuesdays that we've had here at Philly Net Squared. And I want to draw your attention specifically. Oh, this is a cool thing. There we go. Oops. Specifically to the Crowdsourcing Change event, which is a series that we do every couple of months, in which we have a couple of candidate nonprofits or other social changey websites that present themselves here, and the crowd, that's the people in the audience, give concentrated feedback and advice and suggestions to that entity. We've had the Academy of Natural Sciences and a bunch of others that you can see. And next month, we're doing it again. Denny is going to be moderating it. Say hi. That's Denny. And if you're interested, or if you have a nonprofit or some other entity that you think would like to be a subject of our Crowdsourcing Change event, there's a URL right there that you can go to and fill in an application. Beyond that, we're looking for ideas, and if you have some sort of idea that resonates with the theme of using the social web for social change, please let us know, or let us help you do it. And as I said before, our next planning meeting will be next week. In addition to the video conference, it's been our practice to stream this. So this is going out on a live internet stream. It's actually about a 15-second delay. And we're monitoring a Twitter back channel. Ivan over there is specifically monitoring the Twitter back channel, although others might be. And he'll be introducing any questions or comments from the outside world that might come in through that channel using the hashtag PHLNET2. We're also about networking here. So there's a sign-in sheet out there. Please leave a business card. We'll scan them and send the scanned copies out to everyone. People have a tag, which enables you to not only put your name, but tag yourself with some information. In this case, it's about one good thing for you that has come out of the Occupy movement. And we have a strict no questions too stupid policy. There's lots of food there. There's food on the porch from Occupy. Please eat it. We don't want to leave anything, and we're assuming stuff won't be left. This is a Platinum LEED certified building. We do a lot of composting and recycling here. The cups and stuff are compostable, as well as all the food, meats, cheeses included. Bathrooms are beyond the elevator. We have Wi-Fi access, it's open, and if you parked in the lot across the street, you can get your card validated at the front desk. I want to thank the American Friends Service Committee for sponsoring this event tonight. And I want to quickly explain what we're going to be doing. As I said, it's an experiment. We'll do a quick introduction so we see who is in the various different rooms that we're participating here. Then we'd like to have a status of what's happening with each of these occupies. Most of us here have some familiarity with Occupy Philly, but not with these others, and we'll hear about that. And then we'll have our kind of demonstrations from the different sites of what what kind of social web services they're using and comments about that. We'll have some questions and answers and discussion, and we'll sum up with some lessons learned. This is an important topic. And one of the things that came to my attention was a book that Tony Hiraiza gave me, Alternative and Activist New Media, which brings home the point that what's happening with current social movements. Oh, there's Tony. Thank you, Tony. What's happening with current social movements and what's happening with social media are actually very much synergistic. The quote that I extracted from there that I like is that in new social movements, media and information technologies not only provide channels for transmitting information, they actually constitute the real practical field of action where movements themselves are created, contested, and played out. So in this case, it's not just that the medium is the message, it's actually the medium is the movement. And that the way in which these movements are occurring and the way in which social media and social networking are happening are actually mutually synergistic, and it's not a coincidence. So that's the quick introduction. I think what we'll do is we'll go to the different sites. Why don't we kill the share so we can see bigger pictures of the different sites. And Chicago, you're alphabetically first. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who's in the room. Maybe turn the camera around, let people say hi or introduce themselves quickly.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gordon Dymowski, and I am the lead organizer for Chicago Net Tuesday, and I am here with Heidi Massey, one of my co-organizers who just walked in the door. We want to thank the Center for Neighborhood Technology and Carl, whose last name is
Hertz.
Carl Hertz.
Cycles per second.
Thank you for helping arrange the venue today. We've got a small number of people here. Normally our meeting is on the second Tuesday of the month, so but we're grateful for the people who did show up. We are also we don't have a representative. I'm hoping someone comes to the door, but I'm more than willing to kind of bluff my way along and talk a little bit about what the what Occupy is doing in Chicago. Much like New York, we do have, we have the Board of Trade, we have the Mercantile Exchange, so we do have a very active Occupy, contingent. And one of the things that they're doing is, one of the ways in which, like in Philly, that they're reaching out is through social media. So let me see if I can just call up the...
It's actually over here.
Oh, thank you.
That's right. It's actually already being shared. I don't know if we're at that point of the presentation.
Wait, let's finish with introductions first, Gordon. Okay, no, that's okay. So, does anyone in Chicago just want to pan around or have people say hello? See what the names are?
Manager here at the Center for Neighborhood Technology. If anyone's interested in checking out the organization, the website is cnt.org. I'm going to go ahead and just haul the laptop around here.
Just saying hi.
We're just saying hi.
Hi, I'm Jerry Gleason. I'm a longtime technology guy and social media interest. I work on a program called Wagon. That's open source super wiki database that I'd like to apply in the Occupy movement and help develop movement. And I visited the movement here in Chicago just once after work. My contract just ended when I was actually doing work indirectly for the CME. So it was great to meet all you guys in advance.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Norman Lawrence, and I had a company here in Chicago called Arts eVentures, and we do websites and online marketing in general for nonprofits and for arts-related nonprofits in particular. So nice to see all of you.
My name's Frank Diekman. I'm just getting into web development, and I'm interested in nonprofit and social activism.
Hi, my name is Heidi Massey, and I work at a nonprofit called IC Stars, which does employee training, and I run the social enterprise that does social media management for small to mid-sized businesses.
That's it for Chicago.
Okay, how about Greensboro?
Hi, I'm Bobbie Sonner. I'm involved with Occupy, and I'm an intern for AFSC.
My name's John Wright. I've been helping to sort of organize our media group since we started our occupation. I have background in sports marketing. I was a head lacrosse coach at University of Oregon, and I've been trying to apply some sports marketing techniques through social media for the occupation.
You there, right? Okay. It's just the two of you in Greensboro. Great, okay. Well, that's fine. It's a small town. Okay, so we'll go through the Philly room very quickly. I'd like to ask people to utilize the microphone so I can pick up on the recording better. My name is Seth Horwitz, and I am a consultant, and I work here with the American Friends Service Committee very often.
My name is Emmanuel Bussey. I'm with Occupy Philadelphia and Philadelphia Professionals for Progress.
Hi, my name is Elise Luce Kramer. I'm a Philadelphia-based artist working on a project called Occupy My Soul. You can find out more about it on Facebook, but it's a way I'm using 99 individual occupiers' content to create a large quilt tent that will show the diversity and unity in the movement.
Hi, I'm Mina Ravel with Transition Philadelphia and Occupy Philly, working on occupying vacant lots.
Hi, I'm David Goldstein. I'm the marketing director for Interact Theater Company here in Philadelphia. We are a small professional theater company that does work that's all related to social issues, and our upcoming play is about the financial crisis.
Hi, I'm Craig DeLarge, and I do work with the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Meg Lewis, National Alliance of Mental Illness and Osteopathic College of Medicine.
Barbara Goodman, Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, Communications Director.
Hi, my name's Ivanka Kolchitsky. I'm on the facilitation team with Occupy Philadelphia, and I'm also texting our contact in Chicago for Occupy Chicago that does social media to try to get him to connect with you guys right now.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ivan Booth. I do computer website development for nonprofits under the name Rootwork, and I've also been active with Occupy Philly and help Seth organize the Philly Net Squareds every month.
Hi, I'm Denny Casrell. I work for Health Partners, which is a nonprofit health insurance provider here in Philadelphia, and I'm their online and in media specialist, and I'm also on the advisory committee for Philly Net Squared.
Hi, my name's Jane Reimold, and I'm really interested in social media.
My name's Daniel Browse. I put some of the first websites on the internet in 1994, and I'm publishing the Occupy Philadelphia movement at kingarthur.com.
I'm Wayne Ritz, and I'm from Occupy Philly as well. Seems like we have a good showing here tonight.
Please put the microphone straight in the mouth. It's not very good.
I'm Eden Rosenthal. I'm with Occupy Philly. We're putting on a conference, a movement building gathering this weekend at occupynortheast.org is all the information there.
Hi, I'm Colleen Warmingham from Allentown, and I was in Philadelphia today for an action with the Earthquaker Action Team. Glad to be here tonight.
I'm Jacques Sapriel. I'm with phillyecocity.com.
Hi, Mitch Collier, working in health marketing and environmental communications.
I'm Chris Moore, and I'm with the Community Design Collaborative, which provides early-stage design services to community-based nonprofits. and also a Quaker, and happy that AFSC and Friends Center are hosting us.
I'm Bianca DeMaio. I'm a recent Temple grad, and I'm working for a startup company in Philadelphia developing new technology for social TV.
Hi, my name is Sean Needham, Web and Media Specialist for Consumer Credit Counseling Service. We provide all kinds of great things like financial education and counseling and education for seniors, students, and also women.
I'm Tony Hariza. I work for the American Friends Service Committee and have been active in helping to coordinate the hospitality for Occupy Philly and part of the Friends Center working group.
Philip Jones. I used to work for AFSC. Now I'm retired and I watch from the suburbs.
Hi, I'm Ariel. I'm with Occupy Philly, and unfortunately, the General Assembly is happening now, so that's why I'm standing in the back. I'm happy this is happening, though.
Yeah, I'm Harold Pugh. I work for the American Friends Service Committee in the IT department. I get to play with the toys here.
So why don't you talk to me next? Just introduce yourself. Sure. Okay.
My name is Chris Goldstein. I'm a Quaker. I've been with marijuana reform, and I coordinate a number of Facebook pages in marijuana legalization and medical marijuana, and I've been helping with the Occupy Philadelphia Twitter and Facebook page since day 2.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Maria Graver. I'm the community radio director at the Prometheus Radio Project, and I'm also active in social media with Protecting Our Waters, and I'm also the founder of OccupyPhillyMedia.org.
Okay, and Chris and Vanessa are the designated presenters, but we're going to expect presentation and input from everyone else as well. Before we actually get into the social media stuff, I know we're delaying this, but I think it's important to kind of get a sense of what's happening in these different occupies, because I have no idea what's happening in Chicago or Greensboro. So can Chicago just give us a little background and summary about what's been happening since things started and how it's changed and where you are now?
Hand this off to Gordon. We're going to share websites from this one. I know you have the admin function over there, so we're going to start sharing a page from the Carl Hertz connection, not the CNT.
Okay, Carl, before you share the page, just give us a little background on Occupy Chicago, but without the social media part.
Okay, well, just to put it in a nutshell, what Occupy Chicago has been doing with social media has been to basically engage the entire city around some very grassroots, very neighborhood-based activities. So it's so basically they've been using traditional Twitter and Facebook to not only engage people directly in conversation, but to also kind of disseminate information about a wide array of activities that's going on. Part of it is that Chicago is a very spread out city. It's very diverse with very distinct neighborhoods with very distinct cultures. So what the Occupy movement is attempting to do, and unfortunately we're not able to get a representative here tonight because I believe tonight is their General Assembly as well. What they have been attempting to do is to really bring attention to very specific neighborhood events. And what they've, and we do have kind of a very lively, very active Occupy contingent. In fact, I believe it was within the last day or so, they announced plans through Kickstarter, and that's one of the sites I'd like to show, is to do what they call the Occupied Chicago Tribune, which would be a grassroots paper that would inform the public about some of these events and some of these kind of grassroots economies, some of these more very small-based initiatives in an effort to kind of really mobilize the majority of the city.
Look forward to seeing that. How about Greensboro? What's happening down there?
Okay. So with Greensboro, we only physically occupied for 3 weeks, starting on October 15th. After that, we've been meeting 3 times a week at a minimum at a bookshop in one part of town. And we've been having general assemblies there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. The general assembly tonight, same time as this, and our city council is getting sworn in. So a lot going on tonight. But we've been really active, having a lot of protests, a lot of actions, a lot of teach-ins. We've got some really great working groups going on right now.
Yeah, we also sort of adopted a model that sounds similar to what Chicago is doing, to the extent that we've been engaging the local community in issues that are relevant to that community. So, for instance, in North Carolina, bank foreclosures are really high here, and this is the home of Bank of America and Wells Fargo corporate offices. So, trying to engage people on that. But also extremely local issues, like, for instance, there's a landfill in Greensboro that's built in a predominantly black neighborhood that people want to reopen. So we've been trying to engage the community on things like that. And so what it ends up being is that we have the local issues, like very local issues here, and we also have the national issues, like the things that we see with Occupy Wall Street in the national media coverage. And so what we try to do as the media group is to sort of create a synthesis between the two, so that we have stories that are compelling for the local population, but that also tie in to the grand scheme of the Occupy movement. And that's sort of where our struggles come from.
Okay, how about Philadelphia? What's happening here?
So we were occupying Dilworth Plaza at City Hall for almost 55 days, I think it was. And we were evicted last Wednesday by the city of Philadelphia, and with help from their friends, the Philadelphia police. There was a large demonstration to sort of, protest the eviction. Over 50 people were arrested, later on released within a couple of days. So we have lost our occupation site for the moment, but I think that a lot of people affiliated with the movement are taking this time to sort of regroup and re-strategize how we can move into the next level of this movement. And so we're still meeting every day, having working group meetings. There's over 25 working groups and many more subcommittees. We're holding a general assembly about 3 or 4 times a week. There's one going on right now in the next room. And we're sort of trying to figure out different ways where we can take other parts of the city via vacant lots, maybe some type of abandoned building. Some folks are looking into paying money for some type of building headquarters, etc., while others want to occupy without a permit some other piece of land in the city. I think those are all up for debate. I think that even though we've lost our physical space, we've continued to occupy cyberspace via our social media and the stories that we've been posting at our website, Occupy Philly Media. So still going strong. We hope to continue our direct action several times a week. There were 2 direct actions today. More folks were arrested. The Quakers, as you might have heard earlier, descended on PNC Bank. And then there was another action today, the Department of Human Services. There'll be a regional gathering this weekend. So I think the key is to still keep up the communication and the organizing and the planning so that we come back that much stronger in the spring.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything else to add?
Only that, we've seen an increase, on the night that we actually had the eviction, which was November 30th. We have a live stream as well as Twitter and Facebook, and we saw a tremendous increase in traffic that night to all of our sort of cyberspace occupations out there. But it's been interesting. The audience on the social media for us has also been our donating audience. They're the people who have given us food, given us water, given us comfort, given us a lot of donated supplies. So seeing what I've seen through here is a web-to-world sort of activism, and that's been what we are continuing on through the winter here.
Oh, I also wanted to mention that because of our position on the East Coast, located in between Washington, D.C. and New York, that there's been a lot more movement and visiting of the D.C. and Wall Street occupation sites. So people are sort of using this opportunity now to go visit those sites. There's quite a few people doing a tour of the East Coast, going to Boston, New York, and D.C. and Trenton to meet more people and sort of see how they're doing things on those sites and to also show support and solidarity.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we'll probably stick with our alphabetical sequencing. But before we do, Carl and Bobbie, if you could maximize the microphone on your QVS, on your video screen up at the top. It's probably the 6th or 7th icon, and the drop-down box will let you change the microphone setting. If you could maximize those, people are having trouble hearing you on the stream.
Okay, this is as I go. Is that okay?
I think maybe just trying to talk directly into the microphone then will be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, but let's go to Chicago first, and you can then share your whatever you want to share. And Greensboro and Philadelphia, remember to go to the toggle icon and choose the Chicago share.
Hello? I think we just lost sound.
Did we?
Oh.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
We hear you.
Greensboro hears.
Okay, Carl, are you sharing?
Oh, might want to move to Greensboro.
Okay, why don't we try Greensboro while Chicago's figuring that out. So, Greensboro, why don't you share?
Okay.
All right.
And we'll get to that. Okay, hold on.
Is that?
Okay, so
Are you guys?
we're seeing Greensboro. Well, it's mostly dark. There we go. Chicago, are you seeing Greensboro?
Yes, we're seeing.
Yes, you are.
Okay, we see Greensboro. We see the.
You want to speak this up?
Okay, most of the screen keeps blanking out for us, Greensboro. Are you?
Do I need to navigate within the program, or do I open up the actual web Explorer to do it?
We're supposed to use these for displays.
Like, if we do stuff now, you can see us scrolling.
Yeah, right now it's pretty steady.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you talk us through it?
All right. Basically, what we did is, when our organization started, we bought the domain name, and we've been using WordPress. The reason we decided to choose WordPress was more of a functional thing. It's just that it's easier for people to use, so we don't have to train people to do it, which allows for more people to update the website. That was our thinking. So it is not the prettiest thing that we have. We used to have, and if you go to a lot of smaller occupations websites, you see a lot of tabs at a time. We wanted to get rid of a lot of the tabs and make it an easier experience for people that sign on. So we just have meeting minutes from the blog. The blog is updated by people within the media group that just have things to say. You see our
Yeah, we hear you.
Sorry. So we have a blog. And we try to stay on that. So basically what we're trying to do, which is what we do
where I believe that technology allows us to
Okay, great, thanks. And Facebook is pretty important, so as we go forward, as people think about things, let's think about how to improve what's happening over there. Carl, are things ready in Chicago, or do you want to pass? Can't hear you. No audio.
Carl has lost his microphone.
Where's your microphone, Carl?
He could mime his presentation. That would be a good place.
Carl, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
American Sign Language. Twinkle fingers?
What?
What he's saying, like.
Yep. All right.
We'll have to do a mic check.
Yeah, you can text it in and we'll mic check it.
Shout out from Facebook.
Yeah, we'll chat to mic check.
So right now we're having trouble with the audio. Why don't you work on that, and we'll go to Philadelphia.
All right. We have, if you want, I did hook in the, I'm not sure how to bring this up on the screen, but if you bring this up on the screen, we can show you some of our stuff.
No, whatever you do on here, will be shown on there. That one. Sorry.
I changed it, yes.
That one should be fine.
All right, let's hook it up. How do I,
He's
plugged in?
I have to do a,
I'm engaged. Scotty, engage computer. There we go. Okay, so this is Occupy Philadelphia's Twitter feed, which has 12, I'm sorry.
Greensboro and Chicago, you might have to go up to the toggle icon to switch over to Philadelphia.
This is the Twitter feed, which has 12,255 followers. We picked up almost 2,500 of those followers in the last 10 days, which is pretty impressive. Some of the things that we've done with our Twitter account, on the Sunday where we were given our original eviction notice, and we've done this several times, we put the number of a local pizza place in and asked people to call into the pizza place, buy us pizza, and have it delivered. That technique has seen us, 300 or 400 pizzas over the course of the last 60 days of the occupation. The other night on Sunday, we got 40 pizzas, 18 cheesesteaks, like 20 bottles of soda. So, we've seen our Twitter audience engage. If you look at the Facebook page, which has... we've unfortunately had kind of a Nerd of the Year contest for who was going to do the website for Occupy Philadelphia. So Occupy Philly Media was created as an independent media resource and an arm for people to post stuff, but we never really evolved a homepage for Occupy Philadelphia. There was Philly Occupation, there was OccupyPhilly.org, there was Occupy-Philly.org. There was just like a gold rush on the domain names for the Occupy movements right when they started in September and October, and we never really gained control of the main domain name, which is OccupyPhilly.org. We don't control that. So by default, this Facebook page, and I do the PR as well as the social media, so I send out all the press releases and media advisories. So what we have done is promote this Facebook page as the main information resource. That has been good, and it has been bad. As you can see right now, you're looking at my admin interface, so you can see that there are 4 admins on this page. And we also have, in order to get content on this page, we have created the Occupy Philly Facebook admin page, which has about 30 working group members, and we are constantly putting up posts and putting up information updates, and then the 4 main admins on the page move that information over so that we have a pretty constant information stream. And one of the problems we've run into because of the structure of Facebook, it's been kind of an interesting trust test. We've lost control of our Facebook page several times throughout Occupy Philadelphia, and it has been damaging to us. Losing control of the page, again, when everybody looks at the information stream, either we're not posting anything or we're posting fictitious information, and it's really painful. We've regained the page both times, but the system that Facebook uses is what I call the space capsule system, where any one admin can pull the door open and kick everybody out of the capsule. And any one admin can kick all the rest of the admins off the page, take control of the page, and even delete the page. So the people who administer the Facebook page have to, trust each other. I don't know any other way to put it. I mean, you're stuck in this little raft on Facebook with 28,000 other people, and you're trying to figure out exactly how to, keep moving together without messing it up. But this the Occupy Philadelphia Facebook page, again, what I've seen be amazing about this is that every day we were posting the needed donations list. I mean, for food, for comfort, for safety, for medical. The tremendous, I mean, literally tons of material resources that came in from these call-outs. We didn't really have another method to reach our general public, and we didn't have another method to really reach the media other than through this Facebook page and through Twitter. This was the way that we asked for everything, and we received it. You know, the pizzas are a good example. The food is another amazing example here at Friends Center. But the volunteer resources are amazing, too. But managing a Facebook page isn't easy, and it's sort of, you know, Vanessa and I both spent a long time in radio. I was on the radio for 14 years, and I see managing a Facebook page sort of like having a live radio audience. You have people who are going to call into your show. They're going to interact with you. But you can't really use it as just a static information stream. This is interactive. Posting questions on Facebook is a really valuable tool. And in many ways, I think that Occupy Philadelphia and the Occupy movement has struggled to incorporate the online audience into the on-the-ground activism. These are the people who are willing to drive by and donate water, but how are they getting engaged with the democratic process at the Occupy movement is another issue. I know that some people have talked about online voting, and I know some people have talked about integrating these things in, but that's difficult. I mean, I work in marijuana reform, and we top the questions to President Obama every time he has a YouTube, you know, town hall meeting. Legalization is up there. You can really control an online audience rather easily, and I would be concerned opening up the Occupy movement to sort of a direct democracy online that would be easily, I hate to use the buzzword, but it's true, co-opted. So, you know, Facebook is a valuable audience. It's our donating audience. But how we can take online activism and how we can take our Facebook audience and our Twitter audience and incorporate them into the direct democracy process, I think that's the challenge that we really face this winter.
So it's been an exciting adventure to be a part of this social media group that we formed within Occupy Philly, and also to be a part of the media team, and they sort of work hand in hand. The two things that I hadn't expected when doing this are that, one, that people who are working with you in this movement might post questionable stuff or things that are editorialized, and two is the amount of really terrible comments that you get from people, all the haters and the trolls. And so I've been administering other Facebook sites where, you know, most of the people post stuff that's really relevant to the cause. Like, for example, for Prometheus Radio, I mean, everyone that works there and our interns and volunteers that post things are really supportive of community radio. And, you know, there's never a time when I've had to look at a post and say, why did you post that? That's crazy. And same thing with Protecting Our Waters, which was another site that I helped create the social media structure for, and that's an anti-fracking organization. And even fracking is kind of a controversial issue, but we never had hateful comments being posted on that site, and that's something that we struggle with as part of like the capacity that it takes to administer these sites, is that you really have to be an editor. You know, it means reading everything, looking through all the comments, and trying to balance, you know, people's freedom of speech and this idea of letting everybody have a voice with, you know, claims of censorship and, you know, taking people's voice away because their comments are questioning the movement. And so we've tried several different things. One of them is having guidelines for the working group people to post. So what are the things that we as a movement find acceptable to post on the page? You know, and that contains things like logistical information, calls for donations, meeting times, news about the actual movement, news from other Occupy sites. And then there's kind of a gray area for other social issues that people think are really important and that they should know, and they would make them more likely to support our movement. And then the other thing that we're sort of working on now is we have a very basic framework for deciding what to delete and who to ban as users. but it's increasingly becoming very controversial because there are people that are quote unquote in support of our movement that often are very critical of us, and we certainly want them to continue supporting us and, you know, help us grow our site. But at the same time, if their comments are provoking more hateful content to go on the site, then there's a question about whether or not they should be allowed to continue steering the discussion in a negative light. So it's been interesting to try to figure out those things. I've been a part of Nut Tuesday for quite some time now, and it's been very helpful to go to these meetings. So thank you for putting on all these events. I think I learned a lot about how to use video in particular to circulate, and also how to use hashtags and Twitter and how they all relate to how you can integrate your website, your actual media content, Facebook and Twitter, so that you are driving cohesive messages to your audience. And so what I wanted to say about that was it's important for everybody to be on the same page, because it's very easy to start steering people in multiple directions, especially during very crucial times. So, for example, when we had our eviction on Wednesday, we needed to formulate a plan for how we were going to interact with the public during that time, where information is very critical and all eyes are watching us. So we held a meeting and we assigned different people to update our website, to use Twitter and use the hashtag Occupy Philly. We had somebody at the home base who was just uploading content to Facebook, and then we had like a system of being able to text each other information and figure out places, locations, and times when we would upload media content. And I think that was really helpful in being able to have a consistent flow of information and media that went out that was more or less pretty accurate. There were times when we had to retract things and say, you know, this is what's going on actually. But I would recommend that to Chicago and Greensboro, that, you know, you guys come up with some kind of like emergency plan of action that coordinates all of your communications so that people aren't feeling confused, especially the audience of people that mostly participates online.
And, just an example, you know, some people have trolls. Vanessa was talking about troll management on our Facebook page. We have trolls with guns. Apparently there was a Philadelphia police officer who posted these pictures to our Facebook page that has spurned a Philadelphia Police Department internal affairs investigation into his social media conduct, because they actually have interesting enough, the Philadelphia police sign a pact with the police department as part of their employment agreement, saying that they will represent themselves professionally even in their private profiles when they're on social media sites, and that's not what was happening here. This is a photograph posted by, allegedly, a 8-year patrol veteran here in Philadelphia, and he was posting a lot of incendiary stuff to our page. So that's a little bit about page management, but also, too, I wanted to bring up the Insights page, because it's really interesting when you see how many people are from the area. When you see what happens to the Occupy Philadelphia Facebook page, the great part about this is, again, I run dozens of Facebook pages for all kinds of nonprofits and groups. And what's interesting about this one is that you get a 50-50 split, male and female. You get a near even split, gender split, which is great. I mean, a lot of online media trends male. And you really have to work hard to engage with a female audience. And we're not seeing that here. We're seeing men and women engage with Occupy Philadelphia's Facebook page at equal levels. We're also seeing tremendous, strong local support for the page, whereas a lot of other Occupy sites might have people from other cities. Out of 28,000 people, 22,000 are in Philadelphia. So we're really reaching our local audience. Yes, we're reaching the world from our Facebook page, but we're engaging the local audience that's involved sort of every day with Occupy Philadelphia. And when you see sort of around us, you see New York, 3,000, Warminster, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Doylestown, another suburb of Philadelphia, Houston, Boston. So it's great. I mean, we're interacting with the people right here. And if we move on down here, you can see how we have these trends. And you can see a major upward trend there on the day of the eviction, November 30th, that is still continuing as we call this legs in a media story. We're continuing our legs on the eviction story of Occupy Philadelphia. So, looking into these insights, you can see the kind of audience you're reaching, which is good about our Facebook page again. And I encourage anybody who has these resources, look at your insights, look at what's trending, look at the posts that people are interested in and the discussions that generate a conversation. Ask questions. There's a question function on the Facebook page, and when you ask questions, you usually get a great response. But there's timing very much involved with how you run a Facebook page. There's kind of a rule that we use in Twitter, no more than 4 tweets an hour. So you don't want to have the problem with Facebook pages and Twitter is that they stack information. So you really want to time it to go out correctly, especially if you're promoting events. You want to promote an event. You don't want to over-promote it. You don't want to over-push it. And you also want to do it at the right time that people get engaged. So timing is sort of everything, too. That's why it's important that admins work together along with a broader team. You got to collect all this information together and then figure out how to parcel it out throughout the timing of the day or the week. And when it comes to emergency stuff, boy, it was amazing watching what happened the other day. You have videographers on the ground. You have, many cameras going at the same time, professional and sort of amateur cameras going at the same time. We have computers open. We have live stream open. We're updating Twitter and Facebook from our cell phones. I mean, it really was sort of like, I guess, having never been to war, I can imagine that that's what the coverage was like. It was sort of like a Batman movie out here. Every single police officer in the city was out as if the Joker hit City Hall. So, it was pretty incredible. But, these resources, again, as Vanessa said, you don't want to be confusing. One bad tweet, one bad Facebook message to an audience of 30,000, including the local press, that can send them off in a wrong direction. You got to guide them back. You don't want to cry wolf, as we say in PR. You don't want to say something's going to happen that doesn't. So you have to manage this stuff very carefully in order to maintain your audience and keep it growing. And luckily we have. We've had days where we've seen dips down in our page, but we haven't had one of those in a while.
Can you go to occupyphillymedia.org? I just wanted to talk about the website that we created, which is awesome, and I think it's become a really the main information source, or at least source of stories and news for the site. So the reason I created this site is because occupyphilly.org was not being updated regularly, and in the first 2 weeks of the occupation, we really weren't sure how long we were going to last, and if someone wasn't dedicated to updating these sites at least a couple of times a day, then you really begin to lose relevance quickly. So in order to capitalize on this short window of time that we had people's attention, I created this site because I saw lots of independent freelance journalists and just people who were taking pictures, shooting video, using their cell phones, and writing, and nobody was kind of coordinating them or herding them under one roof. And so we created this site to allow them the platform to update their own content. And we sort of took out the middleman that you see in a lot of sites where there are editors who check the site or check the content and then promote it. Here, anybody can log on and have an account, a username, and a login, and then they can upload their stuff. So if you have footage of an event or you want to write a blog, you literally can log on immediately and upload it. And the only things that we try to monitor for are hate speech, anything that incites violence or riots, personal attacks, and things that are really horrible things against the movement. And of course, false information. We don't want people to write stories that are unsubstantiated and have no sources. For the most part, we haven't had to censor anybody. It's worked out really well, and it also gives everybody the power to become a citizen journalist. And so what we're working on now is trying to make our site a little bit more sophisticated by the way of providing media training, so teaching people how to refine their stories, take better pictures, and use their cell phones more to collect video and audio content. And so we have links to blogs. I'm using my site. Maybe I can.
There you go. We'll add that over there.
So We have links to blogs, so anybody who wants to editorialize and complain and have a critique, that's where you go to do that, and people really like that ability. We have a live stream, and for like 3 days last week, the live stream team provided 24-hour coverage of everything that was going on. It was really remarkable, so we thank them for that. We were running an internet radio station out of the media tent for a while. People were doing shows live from Dilworth Plaza, and we have a lot of people producing videos. What we have them do is upload it via YouTube, and then they embed it in the site, and that takes away the need to have to buy more server space to host these large video files. And then we have galleries where people can upload their photography. Here are all the like headlines, for example. We're kind of working on making this a little bit more visible so that we can have more stories on the front page. We have a calendar similar to the other websites where we have all the meetings. We have, again, the live stream embedded right there, links to Facebook and Twitter. These are all the blogs that are hosted on another site. So blogs hosted on like Tumblr or WordPress, for example. We have RSS feeds into them right there so people can do that. And then, it's just kind of like a blog roll style. And as you can see, we can share on Facebook and Twitter. And what's really interesting is people who are new to writing and making media get really excited by the data they see there. They'll say, Vanessa, 100 people shared my story and there is, 4,000 views. And that's exciting, if you write something and that many people read it and share it, and if you haven't done that before, it's really empowering. And so if you look at right here, we have 50 pages. There's about 10 headlines. So that's, I'm estimating around 500 or more stories that people have produced on our site in less than 2 months. And I think that's really amazing. So we're going to continue to allow people to write and have a voice. We promote some of the stuff on our main Facebook page, but we wound up making a Facebook page just for Occupy Philly Media so that we weren't overwhelming the main Facebook page with just stories from the site. And we're hoping to revive PhillyOccupation.org because I do see a need and value for a more informational or campaign type website where it tells people about the movement, what's going on, and how they can plug in. Where this is really just like coverage of the events that's going on and commentary about the movement itself. So that's how the two sites are different. But this site, doesn't require a lot of management because people are constantly uploading themselves, whereas the other site would definitely require some editors or administrators to, commit to uploading, for example, the GA notes or the meeting schedule or, volunteer meetings or whatever. But this site was made in Drupal with a couple of people that helped out, and the code can easily be copied and pasted to another site. So I'm eager to talk with the other occupation sites if they are interested in developing a larger, more interactive site for their movements.
Okay, thanks a lot, Vanessa and Chris. Chicago, can we hear you? No, we still can't hear you.
Yeah, try that mute button.
Can you hear us? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. Sorry about that. Sounds like you can hear us now. I'm going to go ahead and move this over.
Okay, and I will go ahead and upload what I need to.
We will be sharing the content on the Carl Hertz account, not on the Chicago, the CNT HQ one.
Okay, how do I?
Okay, so if it's already up, then we go over here and share. That should be shared now.
Okay. Can everyone see the browser in front of them? You should be seeing an Occupy Chicago website.
We're seeing a Gmail account still. Oh, up here. Hold on. I need to switch it here. So now you should see what they're seeing eventually.
Oh, it takes a little bit.
Okay. If you take a look at the, if you're looking along with me with the Occupy Chicago site, what you see is basically it's done in Drupal, and there's a variety of ways to track conversations, not just with the obvious Twitter account, but also with a hashtag. Part of it is it kind of helps build that real overall sense of community. There's also so in terms of donations, I know Bailey talked about getting cheesecakes and pizzas donated. We just try to keep it simple, use Network for Good as a way for people to donate cash. As you can see there, if you scroll down, there is a variety of different kind of events that all relate to the Occupy mission. And part of the reason that why that's done is because Chicago's a huge city with a lot of different neighborhoods, it is the overall strategy is to try to kind of mobilize small local pockets and then bring everyone together. So it's creating that sense of being able to create multiple entry points where people can get involved. If you look at the right side, the right, you can see that we have the Twitter stream embedded. And basically what it helps do is really, in Chicago, it's probably one of our better kept secrets, only because it's, we know there's a movement, but what this does is it allows it to it gives the movement a slightly more human voice. The Occupy Chicago's use of social media is mostly to not just mobilize, but to also give it that real sense of, it's not just this abstract, oh, they're protesting. Everything is centered around that key core idea about getting involved and getting mobilized. And so and I only found out about this in the last 48 hours, but one of the projects that the Occupied movement is doing is called the Occupied Chicago Tribune through Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a fundraising engine where you can essentially propose a project and get people to back it. And you can propose a limit, and if you meet that limit, people pay, but people only pay if you meet that fundraising goal. Kickstarter has tended to be used a lot in the comics and graphic literature field. What's really cool is that this is one of the first times it's being used to not only create a new piece of media, but traditional media, and also it's a way to, they're trying to really reach out to the broader public. So the idea, again, it's trying to mobilize in small pockets, but getting those people involved and engaged and moving them towards that kind of central mission. So,
Gordon, can I interrupt for just a second and kind of ask you to broaden out this conversation a little bit? Because one of the things I've been noticing from everybody speaking from the other places is that I see an emerging group coming into the social media space. And those of us who've been in Net Tuesday for a while and the organizers of it, we've seen people come into the space and learn about it. And we love all the new energy coming into it, and we think that's what's going to make it successful. And we've already been dealing with all the things they've been talking about here. How do you create a unified message? And it seems like the Chicago group, they must have like a unified media presence, and maybe speak to that a little more directly about what you've learned so far about how they've organized it.
Well, just my own perspective. I think what Occupy Chicago has done, and I say this coming from a more corporate PR social media perspective, is I think what they've managed to do is they've managed to turn it from a marketing message to a personal motivation. The idea is a lot of times in social media, especially if you read it from the marketing perspective, a lot of it is centered around the idea that with the right message and the right influencers, you motivate people to purchase products. You motivate conversions. You motivate purchasers of products. You motivate consumers. What I think Occupy Chicago has done is it's kind of shifted it slightly so that it's less a consumer approach. And what they're trying to do is really approach that kind of primal human emotional
Would you say it's about engagement? I mean, I think it's like we've been hearing from Greensboro and there, and I'm talking about the importance of being on the street.
Right, it is about engagement.
We've always known that, not necessarily on the street, but the importance of meeting face-to-face at Net Tuesdays, or whatever process, whatever groups you're going out into. That's Occupy everywhere. Occupation is happening everywhere we are. It's not just in the street. And it's really about transforming our society, and that's why we're coming together here, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. He said it much better than I did. I don't know if you all caught that. I guess not.
We did. We could hear that.
What Occupy Chicago is doing is it's using social media to take it to the street. Kind of what you're doing in Greensboro is it's not just about engaging online, but it's really making that personal connection, that face-to-face connection, that giving people a personal stake in the Occupy movement versus what might be a traditional PR thing, which is buzz and people are talking about it. And it's taking it from what an interesting thing that's happening to this is happening and I want to be a part of it.
Okay, great, thank you. Are there any other aspects of the social media or social networking stuff you want to show us now?
We have a statement. Try to keep it brief.
It's not exactly a statement. One of the areas I didn't in my introduction, I didn't talk about, I work in complementary currencies and alternative currencies, and I really think critical to this, the long-term sustainability of this movement is that we actually have to be able to create an economy based on a different way of transacting businesses, where when you fail to be able to meet your bills, the default action isn't somebody comes and repossesses your home. That's not how we treat each other as human beings, and our economic system doesn't treat each other as human beings. So that's why I work in something called metacurrency, and I think we can create systems that mobilize the energy and wealth that you see just spontaneously showing up on the street in this movement, and we can really create an economy based on it. And this is actually other people in the movement, connected with the environmental movement. And I see all this energy coming around from every passion. What is your passion? What stand do you take? And we all take slightly different ones, but we all support each other in making a planet that we can all live on. And so that's what Occupy Everywhere, like the piece that many of us have seen online about Occupy Everywhere. That's what this is where we're going with this, and that's why I'm passionate and I'm standing up here.
What's his name?
Okay, thank you very much for that.
My name is I've been working in technology for 30 years. My degrees from MIT and I was working for a subcontract for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and so I'm I'm between contracts now, so now I want to devote all my energies to making this movement happen, you know. And if I can make it make economic sense, if we can create an economy based on new kinds of currencies and new kinds of financial systems, I think we can do it.
Okay, terrific. Thanks for that. Is there anything else from Chicago right now, Gordon? Now, one of the things we've discovered in our experiment here is that it seems like when we're speaking from Philadelphia, you guys can hear us. When you guys are speaking, we have to mute ourselves in order to hear you. So Harold is going to try and be as dexterous as possible at the controls, but we may expect a second or two delay as we move things back and forth. So, I think at this point we just want to open it up to questions. I have a couple of canned questions, but let's just see what comes out first. I guess they can really come from anywhere, but if it's Chicago or well, they can speak right away, right, Harold?
Yes.
Okay, they can speak right away. We'll just have to mute ourselves to be able to hear you clearly.
Not so much a question, but more of a statement. One of the things that was mentioned by the Occupy Philly folks was kind of how to do an emergency response kind of system where you're able to get a message out quickly when you have these competing sources, these fractured Occupy Philly web pages and whatnot. And I didn't know if you guys had any Redditors in your organization, because one of the things that I have found is that Reddit, while it has a lot of noise in it, there can be an awful lot of signal on Reddit as well. And oftentimes it's very Occupy friendly, and a lot of times when there's an emergent event going on in one of the Occupy movements in the city, it will get to the top of Reddit almost immediately as a good way to get the message out. And again, so I guess kind of the statement is Reddit seems to be good for that kind of thing, and do you have anyone actively Redditing?
Reddit's sort of an interactive link site. It's sort of like an instant blog promotion site, and you can promote content up there and vote it up. It's a great new service. We do have Redditors out there who are sort of reposting our content. When we're on the ground doing something like an eviction or a direct action, we can't cross-promote against every platform. Again, we've been lucky enough that maintaining a steady Twitter and Facebook stream lets our Redditors pick up content from there and promote it up. And yeah, we found the same thing. On a day where there's an action in a bank, on a day where we want to pull together people on a short notice, on a day where we want to say that there's a stand in solidarity, it makes it up to the Reddit pretty fast. As well as, our Redditors are following us in the mainstream media too. So when we get press coverage out there, the Redditors sort of promote the stories that sort of get the message right for Occupy Philadelphia too.
I just wanted to sort of comment on the emergency response plan. It wasn't because of content on the other two sites. There really is no content on those sites, as many of you know. It's more that I noticed that when Occupy Wall Street was evicted the first time, I checked their Facebook page and couldn't find any information. I checked their Twitter and couldn't find any information. I actually found out, because we have visitors from Occupy Wall Street in Philadelphia, that we're getting text messages with information. And so that was our primary point of contact. And so I thought to myself, if that happens to us, we absolutely need to have people updating our Facebook and Twitter and our website with information so that people get a text message saying, we're being raided right now. They can go online and confirm that before they decide to make a move or whatever. So that's the kind of plan that I think people should have in action, to designate certain people to commit to updating those sites if something happens, whether it be an eviction, arrest, a direct action, emergency, whatever.
And it was interesting the other night, too, because Vanessa was out with a march. I mean, during the eviction, there were two large groups. I mean, we had activity happening in two places at the same time. So being able to upload information from both places and say, well, the march is down at 15th and Callow Hill, and up at Dilworth Plaza, this is happening. That was really valuable, having 4 people on the ground. And then Susie, one of the other editors, was at home to make sure that if anything happened to us, God forbid, and something did happen to Vanessa, if anything happened to any of us, there was still somebody off-site who had control of the information streams and could continue to push information out. So we couldn't all be out there. I mean, if all 4 of us editors were out there right then, somebody had to sort of volunteer to stay back.
Okay, we're looking for any other questions from anywhere, or I'm here in Philadelphia.
Occupy Greensboro has a question for Occupy Philly and Occupy Chicago, really. You mentioned as a part of this quick mobilization process using like mass text messaging. Do you have can you tell us what program you use? Because we're trying to create a similar thing, but we can't find a program that's free, basically. We're wondering if anybody has any recommendations.
There's a program
on Google Talk. Sorry, Chicago recommends Google Talk. Excuse me, not Google Talk, Google Voice. You can do texting from Google Voice to your contacts. I forget what the limit is, but it's a large number.
I would just, something that we're working on now is Selly. Google Voice is something that's, I think, limited to 60. And you can do trees out. You can do Google Voice trees that we've worked on where, 5 or 10 cloud Google Voice users each add 60 people. But, when we've got 28,000 people that we're trying to interact with, we're looking at the same thing, too. And a pay-for text service, you'd have to pay per text. It could be tremendously expensive for this. But I'm going to put this up. If you want to put my screen up here, I will show you Selly, which if you go to cel.ly, you can find. This was recommended by the Occupy Wall Street tactical support team who came down during the eviction. And we're just starting to integrate it. It is free, and it is something that we're working on now. It's the best free service I've seen. We haven't engaged it yet, but we're going to start working on integrating this service. But this is the only free supermass text messaging service I've found, and I cannot wait to try it out.
Cool.
Yeah. And I also recommend, if anybody's used freeconferencecall.com, that's a great way to bring people together and, have, phone conferences and things like that. I also, as a radio producer, if you're doing media production, I use the recording service on freeconferencecall.com to do phone interviews and post under the radio.
There's also a free webinar service called anymeeting.com, and it works with free conference call, and you can do video conferencing, and you can show it's like a software sharing tool as well. So if you want to show how to use websites or software, or have a PowerPoint, you can do that. And we use that at Prometheus to connect with groups nationally at the same time.
And you have to be really careful. I want to add with the text messaging service, once you start gathering thousands of cell phone numbers in this text service, you can cry wolf with that really fast. One misuse of your text messaging will have everybody delete that number off the phone. And one cry wolf, hey, we're getting evicted and the police are here, and everybody shows up and there's nobody there. That's pretty much it. You've got only one chance to screw up with that type of service. So you have to manage it and use it very, very carefully.
Yeah, I just want to point out one particular incident where there was a misstep on our part where I believe something was, I don't know if it was tweeted or it was on Facebook, but it was something to the effect of the Whole Foods supermarkets where they were firing any employee who walked out during the general strike in Oakland, and seems plausible, but actually Whole Foods came out and denounced that story and said that was not true. And that was tweeted, hundreds of thousands of times over. We were guilty of retweeting it as well, and it's so hard to retract a tweet like that and be like, oh, actually, that's not true. We're really sorry, Whole Foods, And so we decided after that it's really important to confirm sources for something like that and make sure, even though that story itself was rebroadcast by some local Oakland television stations, they too, perpetuated that misinformation. But I know the night of the eviction, me and Chris went back and forth several times, like, is it time? Is it really time? Are we sure? How do we know? Who's there?
Yeah.
Because we were seeing it on Twitter, but we were unable to confirm it. And until we actually had boots on the ground say, I am here. I see lots of police. It is happening. That's when we were like, okay, time to post it. But before then, we really just couldn't do that because of the nature, what kind of call out that would be, and then people come down here, nothing happening. So just try to keep that in mind when you are using services like this, or anytime when you are doing a call to action.
Yeah, a successful Twitter and Facebook page, what we found is that the media reports on our tweets. Essentially they use it almost like a 140-character press release, and they will report on Twitter interactions, too. So, we have to be careful. Twitter is a really powerful tool to reach individuals. And when we were tweeting back and forth with the managing director of operations in Philadelphia, the deputy mayor, Rich Negrin, who has in many ways become our nemesis, that was news. So you have to be, very cogent. And as Vanessa said, you can't really take this stuff back. You can delete a tweet, but there's always a screenshot. And Twitter really is all cameras on all the time. You have to really think about that before you click that tweet button.
Okay, before we go into another question, are there any other comments about the whole issue of mass messaging, calls to action, whether through Twitter or texting or anything like that? Any other questions or comments about it? Any other questions? Jacques?
Yeah, always ask for pizza. They love to give you pizza on Twitter.
It's not a question. I was noticing how great of a job you did in setting up basically giving the ability to people to feed directly what they see, what they observe on the website. There is a tool which is free. It's an app. It's an iPhone and Android app. It's called Me Porter, and the reason I'm suggesting it is because it basically gives a framework to report video or pictures.
What's it called?
MEPORTER. Me Porter. Okay, it's an iPhone and Android.
Thank you.
Please. I'm bringing that up now. And here is the Me Porter. Yes, we have Me Porter up on my screen. MEPORTER.com. And there we go.
Okay. Thanks.
I already created the Occupy Philly tag, by the way.
Oh.
You can just use it.
Awesome.
Yeah, our live stream's been a good tool too. We found a lot of ways you can do multiple cameras. Live stream has been, just so everybody knows, livestream.com, sort of part of the overall Occupy movement. Each Occupy city has a live stream account, and you can do multiple cameras through live stream. And that, again, like the other night during the eviction, we had a camera out with a march. We had a camera here at Dilworth. We had commentary going on. That's been a pretty valuable tool for us. It really has. And I got to say, the other side of that is watching, like yesterday at the homeless eviction. Standing there, we have like a music stand that we use for the live streaming computer, and the police, the press. When we're filming them with our live stream, it's a very interesting interaction that we get with city officials, with members of the mainstream media when they see us streaming them live. There's not, people are used to cell phones and like recording and like digital camcorders and everything. There's something about being broadcast live right then and there on a video camera that makes people really super aware. And sometimes that can be, like we are right now, sometimes that can be a really valuable tool in an activist situation. And I've seen, again, city officials, police, and members of the mainstream media have a very interesting reaction to us live streaming them and trying to interview them. This has been even more fun.
Great, thanks. Before we go back to Philly, other questions from either Greensboro or Chicago, or comments to be made?
see a lot in the media about the movement everywhere it develops is that there seems to be a lot of what I would call process sophistication that's developing. That, you know, that, and I see it almost like spontaneous in this meeting, that people are very respectful of one another, that, you know, in trying to create a messaging out of what is essentially an anarchistic movement. There's no real leadership per se. There's no, you know, we saw that in the beginning of this talking about it, that you even lost control of some of the sources. But somehow, how is this or this organization being generated spontaneously so that, you know, so that we do maintain nonviolence and all the things that.
Yeah. A little bit there. How do people continue to? I mean, I have to scoff a little bit at this idea that it's a leaderless movement. I think that there are people who clearly dedicate themselves and who are very involved every day. And I think that it's not a leaderless movement, but it's a leaderful movement. I think that a lot of people are really, you know, moving out there and moving, and people are allowed, instead of waiting for one person to give direction, people are allowing their peers and people that they trust to go out into roles where they see them doing well. They're allowing the media team to go out and lead the media team. They're allowing the GA to go out and be the GA. They're allowing the labor working group to do that. And so I think that there are a lot of leaders. I really do. And as far as losing control of the Facebook page goes, again, that's kind of like a Nerd of the Month Club kind of award, and it's also part of the growing battle. It used to be that co-opting a movement or a political movement or infiltrating a political movement or damaging a political movement was much harder. But when we have a concentrated information stream like Facebook and Twitter, taking over that information stream can, and it did, do us damage very instantly. So I think that it's about security. I hate to use that word in that way, but it's about the safety of the organization, and it's about maintaining a correct information stream. You talked also about the variety of voices and it being an anarchistic movement. I think that the challenge for us on the Facebook page and for me in the PR working group is making sure all of the voices do get heard, and making sure that there's equal access to the press, and making sure that there aren't press conferences or events where press access is given where people are either excluded or feel like they're excluded. And you know, in general, again, it's for us, the challenge has been not that we're lacking leaders. It's just a matter of making sure that we can schedule enough time to get them all heard, making sure that everybody's events are promoted accordingly. Again, I see it as sort of like having a radio station with a lot of great volunteers and voices on all the time, and really trying to get everybody into a prime time slot. It's like content management. It's difficult, but it's a good challenge.
Thanks. We have another question from Philadelphia.
This is really for anybody in the Occupy movement. In terms of social media, did you guys find that you really had to promote your social media, or did you rely upon the media to help spread the message? Or I guess if it was promoted, how did you do it, and what do you think was a key factor in getting so many Twitter followers last week? Well, I guess it was the eviction, of course, but with promotion, now, what do you think?
Some of it was sort of the network stuff. I mean, the other thing about the eviction and major events, like when we have like a Comcast sit-in or a Wells Fargo set of arrests, is that the whole Occupy movement has a massive social media audience. And when we start promoting each other, when we start using the OWS hashtag, or when we promote something happening at Occupy Greensboro, or and Occupy Philadelphia and Occupy Greensboro and Occupy LA are all promoting the same thing at one moment, which is what we had. You know, Occupy Los Angeles was raided the same day as Occupy Philadelphia, and Occupy Wall Street was tweeting about that. So here you have three major cities. You have New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, all on the same message, all on the same day, all at the same moment, all with the same hashtags. Man, that was like a laser beam of social media. That rarely happens. And, when you talk about what drives that, do we promote it? Well, it is kind of self-promoting in the social media sphere. I mean, people pick up on it. I found with other pages, not just Occupy Philadelphia, is that once you reach kind of a threshold, once you reach about 25,000 followers, that you don't have to try too hard to promote the page growth anymore. It's going to naturally just sort of grow every day. However, I used other social media to promote Occupy Philadelphia. I used like Willie Nelson's Teapot Party, which is a page that I run for Willie Nelson. It's got like 80,000 followers, and I promoted Occupy Philadelphia's Facebook page up there. And we do like re-entrenchments and things like that. And also the fact, again, we didn't have a website. So every press release, we put out the Facebook page as our main entity. So that ended up being, again, entrenched by the mainstream press as not only our social media imprint, but our main web interface.
I think also the other way that you need to promote those sites is at the General Assemblies, at working group meetings. Like, I can't tell you how many times I got in front of, a GA and said, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, go to our website, occupyphillymedia.org, and we made flyers that were handbills that we gave out for weeks and weeks. We also encouraged people to repost things from our Facebook page on their page, inviting their friends to like the page. I saw a lot of people who in their email signature addresses also had Occupy Philly, Facebook and Twitter on there. And I think the last thing is like really teaching people how to use hashtags correctly so that when they're tweeting, they're keeping people on message and using the same keywords so that we're all kind of grouped together in the movement. And the examples he gave of using OWS, Occupy LA, Occupy Philly, all in the same tweet on that same night is something that you have to teach some people who wouldn't otherwise know to do that kind of thing.
Chicago or Greensboro, do you have any responses to the idea of promoting social media?
Well, I have regarding what is, this is, after all, a Net Tuesday meeting. What going forward can we as Chicago Net Tuesday, and should we as the Net Tuesdays across the country be striving for to assist the Occupy movement?
There should be an Occupy Net Tuesday where the different Net Tuesdays put up a picture of a dome tent on their Facebook pages and their Twitter accounts with little Net Tuesday on the dome tent. But, that kind of direct action, that kind of solidarity direct action, the key to direct action online is doing it in different places at the same moment. So just like Net Tuesday brings together all of us in these different locations at the same moment, creating a momentary action where people post a photo or like something or answer a question, all in different places at the same moment, that's how Net Tuesday should interact. So we should definitely occupy Net Tuesday.
I would also say that having participated in a lot of these workshops has really given me the ability to be able to manage these sites effectively. Things that I learned right here in these workshops, and especially the crowdsourcing things, gave me lots of ideas that I've been able to implement in the social media and the website. And so my recommendation would be to have maybe another back to basics workshop on social media, teaching people how to tweet, how to upload photos, how to use Facebook, to communicate logistics, just really taking it more to a beginner's level to invite more people to participate, because there's so many people that they want to help. This is a really easy way for them to participate and share the message and support, and we can do that by providing training with our community of experts that regularly takes part in Net Tuesday.
This is Seth. I want to point out that Net Tuesday, or Chicago Net Squared, was the only one of the dozens of local Net Squareds that responded to the call to join a conference like this. And we're happy also that Greensboro joined in. But I think that we can do more of this sort of sharing, and we can promote the possibility of doing this sort of thing in the future. Any other comments about the sharing of this sort of stuff with the promotion through Net Tuesday or other channels?
Thanks for here. Before I knew that something like this had existed, I created a really large database of about 100 different occupies from around the country and their media contacts. So perhaps we could use that in addition to this to try to do more resource sharing and things like that. If there's any interest in people looking at that, I'm happy to share it.
Chicago and Philly, are there already any collections of the media, or social media folks in the different occupies?
I mean, I think there's a Occupy Together group and an Inter-Occupy site, and they're the ones who have really been collecting contact information from Occupy sites all over the country, including especially the Occupy Together has a pretty active Facebook page where they have linked up with all the other Occupy sites. I think that what's often been happening at Occupy Philly is we have a lot of duplication of work, or we have different groups working on the same thing. So it might be helpful to sort of bring everybody together and try to centralize that information somewhere so that we'd all have access to it.
My experience for Occupy has been that they do collect information, but I haven't seen much dissemination of that information, so I'm wondering what sort of product they're creating or what's going on there.
I mean, if they have one, I don't know.
Really good. Chicago Net Tuesday has a really good relationship with an organization called the Community Media Workshop, and they put out a guide for community groups and grassroots organizations to actually contact the media. And in fact, they even do a free one-sheet that's easily downloadable to contact the media. And they do a variety of workshops, and they have an annual conference in June or July. So we're lucky enough to have a network of kind of new media groups that allow for and that actively seek out working with groups like the Occupy movement in order to use video, media relations, those kinds of tools.
Great. Why don't we take one or two more questions, and then we can wrap up with some lessons learned and insights gained. Any questions from anywhere? We have one in Philly. Hold on.
No, this is a question from me, not from Twitter. In the UK, several months ago, during the nonviolent actions that students undertook around the tuition increases, there was a social media application created called Sukey, S-U-K-E-Y, which helped people with smartphones and with non-smart cell phones know when police were moving in to kettle them, which is what it's called when police sort of move in, surround protesters, and don't let anyone leave. As far as I know, Sukey is specific to the UK, but I was curious if anyone from any of these three occupations or anyone else had heard of anything like that being developed around Occupy sites, or if you just wanted to say any thoughts or experiences in particular around evictions of using social media as a way to keep Occupy participants safe and knowledgeable about what was going on.
Well, I can say two things about that. One is I'm not aware of anything being used like that, at least not in Philadelphia. But I think it's really cool and interesting. And two is that outside of the few people on the media team that were actively, that had smartphones, that had this ability to do that, I didn't see a lot of people doing that with their cell phones. And it's one of the things we'd like to talk about in our next media training is how to keep focused, during this really anxious, scary time, it's really hard for people to, to even call or text or tweet other folks when they're constantly moving around and they're seeing their friends being hurt, or, they're yelling. There's a lot of chaos that goes on during these types of situations. And to be distracted and being on your phone is really hard when you don't really have a duty to report, and so that's why we discussed it as a media team. Like, we really need to figure out like how to take time out to report, and we would do that intermittently, but to get a much larger group of people to get on their phones and do this sort of thing, to either communicate it or to receive the information seems really challenging. And, we have to figure out a way to communicate with people these types of things, but also make sure that they're safe and paying attention and are participating and kind of not like being on their cell phones like during this time.
Well, and also too, like during you brought up an interesting point. There are a lot of weird sort of policies, not necessarily laws, in place for how we can monitor police activity. So, for example, during the eviction, there was an app that people downloaded to their smartphones that had the local police scanner on it. So they could listen to, as if it were a CB radio, to the local police scanner on their like iPhones and such. And that turned out to be an interesting tool. And there was a lot of chatter sort of picked up and put out through chat by certain members out there. But again, even knowing some people in the local press, I mean, I don't know if all of you know this, but local TV stations and like the Associated Press reporters will sit like in a room with police scanners and just sit around and listen. That's why, a lot of the news that you see is like a car accident, or if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing, because the reporter's sitting there listening to all the police scanners and the fire scanners and such. So I don't want to be like that, where we're sort of, have somebody assigned like that and looking around. But during the eviction, having somebody sitting there listening to the police scanner, put updates on where police were moving and the sort of chatter that was happening out there, that was kind of valuable the other day. I think that the real value to social media and creating things like that is having our own team to do it. Not necessarily an application or putting stuff out there. We have to be a little bit careful in how we communicate some of this stuff and how we organize that communication. Protesters at Occupy Philadelphia have been charged with criminal conspiracy, and that is in an attempt to stop the organization of continued disruptive protest activity. And we don't want to ever fall into a place where we've sort of over-organized or organized ourselves into a legal problem.
Yeah, I would also just add that
Weird world, huh?
I have a lot to say about this. I'm sorry. It seems very unbalanced. It is. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I would also say, being someone that always likes to film and always likes to, participate, that it's really hard at times when you have to be in like media mode and like, I have to film this, I have to take pictures, or I have to make this phone call, at times when you really just want to participate, and chant. And there's a lot of times where I hold the camera and I can't speak, because otherwise it ruins the footage. And that's why it's really important to designate people who are going to be, quote unquote, the information people who are, are going to not participate in the same way that others will participate in. And I found those people to be really, really useful, because they're the ones who would be on their phone looking this kind of stuff off online, but then they're the ones to shout to a crowd of 100 people, hey, this is what's going on. And so that kind of alleviates the need for everybody to be on their phones at the same time, but to have points of contact who are going to do that and relay the information to a larger body of people.
Are there any other comments from either Chicago or Greensboro about the whole issue of Suki-like services or ways of identifying police movements quickly? Okay. Why don't we kind of wrap up with just sharing any insights gained and lessons learned from the evening, from anyone who has them in the audiences or the participants, if anything was learned. Philadelphia.
I'd be interested in how the tools and processes that we're discussing here are being used to bring about change. So we've been talking about the tools and the process.
What's the outcome?
And I'm interested in the outcome.
I think the primary thing is what people talked about at the beginning was to get people off their computers and into the streets, right? So I think one of the most important things that we do is inform people about events where they could come join other people and discuss these things in person. So, and I think Facebook in general has become a primary way for people to share events, everything from holiday parties to fundraisers to direct actions. So that's a primary goal is getting people to physically come and join us in person. Secondly, I think it's a way to inform people about things that are, going on that are unjust. So being committed to finding evidence that these injustices are occurring. And then thirdly, giving a platform for ideas and solutions to some of these problems. And so I know that on Occupy Philly Media, which is more conducive to that sort of thing, people have presented plans to what do we do about the vacant lots here? This is what we can do about it, and people make videos saying, like, this is what we need to do to solve this crisis. So it provides a platform to say, like, this is a problem and this is our idea to solve it. Like, what do you think? How can we make this happen? Here's an event where we're going to talk about it, So I think that those are like the three fronts we need to work on is bringing people, together, informing people about what's going on, and then coming up with solutions to solve these problems.
I would just also say that, as well as the marches and everything, what we see in social media is people engaging on a personal level. So ways that you can get people to participate in social change at home in their neighborhood, quite literally, can be very effective tools for this. And, as we see, what's interesting about the Occupy movement and having managed, like, lots of Facebook pages, you'll see, say, like, for other events, you'll see 500 people sign up for an event, but you'll see 250 show up. At the Occupy movement, we see 300 people sign up for an event and 600 show up. So it breaks the mold for how that web-the-world engagement really happens with the Occupy movement. And I find that really interesting. I think that the Occupy movement and managing the Occupy Philadelphia Facebook page has shown just how much this movement does break those molds and how much people do get off their computer, get off their couch, and out into the real world, and how quickly they want to engage with these things. I've just been amazed. Dilworth Plaza was like living in a Buddhist temple. People gave us all of the things that we subsisted on, and that to me was one of the greatest outpourings of generosity I've ever seen from humans or the internet. And again, to this day, I think it's just one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
And I just want to add, there's a lot of researchers that have been looking at the Occupy movement, especially those who study sociology, anthropology. I went to school for media, and if I were wearing my academic hat, I would say, or I would theorize, that the Occupy movement has been quite successful in setting the agenda. Agenda setting is a really big theory that's out there in media research. Usually compared to public opinion leaders and politicians are the ones that drive the conversation. And in fact, we have been driving the conversation on corporate greed, police brutality, and all these other unfair practices. And so that at the very least, we've been successful in a short amount of time at changing conversation topics, to the things that we think are important. And people can side for or against us, but at the end of the day, Occupy movements have been in the media every single day, sometimes a top news story regularly, and people have commented on us, like us or hate us, but they are talking about us, and that's successful.
Yeah, make no doubt. Chicago, Greensboro, Philadelphia, every Occupy city, you are a celebrity. This is a group celebrity right now. This is a political celebrity. It's a reality show celebrity. It's a social celebrity. It's all these things combined. And, that's something that we have to realize. And maybe we've gotten a little too used to. We can't take that for granted.
We have another comment about this in Philly?
Okay, everybody. I'm Brad. The rest of y'all know my name. Okay, got it right. As far as the police brutality, I got one answer for you. If you want to bring it to an end, the only way to do it, we all need to go down to the federal courts in Greensboro, Chicago. You need to go down to the federal court in your part of this town. File a civil complaint against the police. Bring evidence as far as medical, documented by your doctor what your injuries are. Any witness statements, film coverage of the incident happening, and file against these people. The other thing we need to do is push the courts to sentence these guys to the full extent of what the charge carries or what they pick up. Because you got to remember one issue. Everyone that became a cop graduated high school, they went to college, went to law school to learn what the laws carry. They know what that charge carries. They know they get 10, 20, 30 life, what they're doing. And then they went to academy, become a cop. So the only right, fair thing for these guys is to get charged and do 100% of the time. And the law terms are called mandatory. We also need to get them out of the PC status. Something a lot of you don't know is when a cop goes to jail, county or state prison, they go on PC status, which stands for protective custody, and they sit in the hole the whole time. Need to get them out of PC and put them in general population where they have to deal with the inmates they stuck in prison. And that way they'll get stuck dealing with the people they stuck there, and by inmate code, they'll get the shit beaten out of them. And that, guys, when they get the crap beaten out of them, the crap they do on the street to the others will stop. Well, I see the blonde laughing, but it ain't no joke. That will happen by inmate code, hon.
We might have to put the horses in a special prison here.
All right. But everybody, you got to take it seriously.
Brutality.
Federal courts.
Thanks very much for those comments. Why don't we wrap up with just, as I was mentioning before, any sharing of insights? Did anyone learn anything? Should we do this again? Was this a good idea?
We should do it again.
Okay, inside over here.
This was really great. This was really great. One idea that I'd love to see followed up for someone who's really a newbie to this is something for people who want to learn. I think there's a lot. Yeah, another training would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. We're trying to organize something for after the holidays. That's going to be like an all-day media training, and social media will be a part of that.
Okay, any other final comments from anywhere?
12 years ago.
That's it, Greensboro.
Philadelphia, one of the reasons you were looking into having this conference was because you had recently moved away from your physical encampment, and you were looking at the transition phase of that. And I've got to say, for Occupy Greensboro, because we only physically occupied for those 3 weeks, that since that we have become much stronger, actually. There was a lot of debate going on for about the week, or last week at the actual camp, on whether or not we would be sustainable after that point. And people were worried that without the physical location to come to, that we would lose sight of our goals and of just our community. And actually, since that, we have been incredibly active, especially we are a fairly small city, and it's a city very rooted in civil disobedience and community activism, but Greensboro is just a very complex city in the way it approaches it, but it's been very impressive, the turnout that we've had, and even though we don't have a very necessarily equal relationship between what is going on in the occupation and what is portrayed in the media as much on our media group. Even just today, in such a small group, we had 7 of our working groups met today. 7 of about 12 of our working groups. We had a direct action, and we had a general assembly all in one day. And we actually have found that we've had a lot more time for community building and for getting to know people and to build up our strength. And I mean, honestly, it's been great for us. We still carry on our GAs. We still have a lot of community meetings. What we have worked for is to get our working groups to meet in the same place that our general assemblies happen, so that it's one central area for everyone. And we are dealing with a lot of different issues of having these 2 different worlds going on between what happens online and what happens in person, mostly because y'all were talking about it too, but we've had a lot of issues with repeat negative posts over and over and over and over again. And those are typically the ones that a lot of people are responding to, and we're hearing a lot in our general assemblies that that's turning people off, and that people are leaving us because of that. And we've been debating this for about 2 weeks now, over and over again. And I'm sure that's an issue everyone's been dealing with. So that's been creating an even bigger rift between our online presence and our in-person presence. But I would say that definitely now that you aren't occupying, you may find the same thing as us, that perhaps you will be becoming an even stronger force. I don't know if you want to say something, John.
Yeah. Bobbie, I hear the message that after you stopped occupying, you actually gained some strength and solidarity. I'm wondering if you can correlate that at all with the use of the social media and social web, if that played any kind of different role after you stopped occupying.
I would say that our strength is page when we talk about stacking these negative comments appear on top, and it turns a lot of people off. Yet, despite this, we still have people coming to the General Assemblies, as you mentioned, and in a sustainable and regular number, and rotating membership. It's not always the same people attending. So I guess we're getting lucky now. We just need to figure out a way to deal with the trolls on our Facebook page more efficiently, so that people don't sign on and see all these negative comments. So I would say that social media is certainly playing a role. But for us, it's not the role that we want it to play. We need to figure out a way to turn it around and have positive experiences, because our GAs end up being extremely positive with everybody that's involved. It's like the exact opposite of what goes on online, and it's frustrating to no end.
Final comments from anyone? Gordon.
Well, I think one of the things about the Occupy movement that really excites me is you look at the nature of who's participating. It crosses across gender, across age, across socioeconomic status. That it's the great thing about the Occupy movement right now is that it's not just about young people protesting, or it's not about the older generation protesting. It's a community coming together for a common cause, and I think that is I know it's what excites me about it, and I think that's what excites all those who participate about it, is that it's not about a personality, it's about a fundamental principle.
Thank you. All right, I think we're going to wrap up now. I'd like to thank Bobbie and John from Greensboro, and Gordon and Carl and the other folks there in Chicago, and Vanessa and Chris here in Philadelphia, and the folks who came out for this. So thanks to everyone for sharing in this experiment, for putting up with a couple of glitches. We learned a lot in the process, and would like to try and do this again sometime. So thanks to everybody, and keep occupying.